We are celebrating Pentecost this week, and you are a former Pentecostal. What are just really concisely or basically, if possible, what are the biggest misconceptions that mainline, I'm with ironic quotes, I am making ironic quotes around this term, mainline Protestants have about Pentecostals or just the general public? Like, the Pentecostals are blank.
Yeah. Well, I never knew anyone who handled snakes, and I never knew anyone who drank poison. And so, there is, again, I stepped outside of that tradition for a number of reasons in my early 20s, and actually for a number of years wasn't really sure that I was a Christian anymore, actually. And it was a long journey that brought me into the Episcopal Church, first through the Scottish Episcopal Church, actually. But I think that what we often forget is that these, first of all, I think it's like 3/4 of global Christians identify as either Pentecostal or charismatic.
Three-quarters of the world's Christians?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's including, say, charismatic Roman Catholics, charismatic Lutherans and Anglicans, of which there are many. But the statistic that I believe that I've read is something close to 3/4. So when I teach about the doctrine of the Holy Spirit, that's one of the first things that I tell students is that, we have a historic understanding of the Spirit, but we can't ignore the fact that the majority of Christians in the world have a kind of firsthand experience of God, the Holy Spirit, that is dynamic and certainly a part of their lives. And we can't ignore the fact that denominations like the Assemblies of God are continuing to grow, and that Pentecostalism actually was probably the first socially progressive and inclusive Christian group in North America. In the 19-teens and 20s and 30s, they had African-American preachers and leaders. They had women who were preachers and leaders. It really wasn't until the 1940s when Pentecostalism became more aligned with American fundamentalism that we see the turn toward the religious right that we see today. So at its inception, it was very much grassroots, very much
because there was this belief that like the Spirit, like it's such trust in the Spirit that like, what are we to say if it is in a person who is African American, a person who is a woman, right? Like that was the base of it.
Exactly. Now it became institutionalized and it became complicit with misogyny and racism and the kind of the great sins of North America. And of course, there are a lot of really damaging and destructive and difficult things that we need to contend with, which, by the way, I'm an Episcopal priest. Like, we have our own share of institutional sin that we have to reckon with as well. So none of us have histories that are untainted.
Doesn't exist. Yep.
Exactly. So I think that that we tend to minimize the significance of global Pentecostalism in a way that is actually contrary to largely our ecumenical inclinations. I think in the mainline, we really are authentically ecumenical, but we forget that to be truly ecumenical, we need to look outside of ourselves sometimes.